Welcome to another episode of Charters Talk 4630. I'm your host, Stacey Garret, and I'm joined by my co-host and friend, Garret Osasa. If this is your first time here, we welcome you and ask that you follow this podcast by pressing on the subscribe button. It is free. This is not a paid subscription. This way, you'll be notified whenever we go on live or release the latest content. You can follow and listen to us while on the road, at work, or even on your lunch break on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Apple Music Podcasts, Pandora, Deezer, and TuneIn Radio. If you'd like to hit us up on X, for myself, it's retired in 26997. And for Garret, it's Gman7887. Again, thank you for joining us here live on X, YouTube, or whatever platform you're listening to. Garret, how you doing, man?
Stacey, how you doing? I'm hanging tough. We just hit the halfway point, so I'll be home in 3 months. Can't wait. Then it's football season, so there's that.
All right.
Before we get started, I got to give a shout out. Mama Dukes came through. I'm wearing a new shirt. I'm not wearing either my Charger hoodie or my green shirt, and I got this awesome hoodie. So, thanks, Mom. Appreciate you. I'm a mama's boy. Had to give her a shout out. That's all
good. That's all good. Shout out to your moms. Listen, how's the weather where you at?
Right now, it is raining. It has not gotten above 50 degrees. So it stays right around 45. And the wind has been 30 miles an hour for about 3 days straight.
Well, right now, I'm in New Jersey. It's 71 degrees. The high going to be 87. So it's a pretty good day today.
You got summer over there. We don't get summer here. I guess the high, year round for there's the hottest summer is 55 degrees. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Or 14 Celsius. That's what they do here. I'm trying to get culturally acclimated.
Okay. Anything new going on?
No, not really. Just been tracking this OTA stuff, ready to talk a few things. Pretty pumped about that.
What time is it where you at? It
is, yeah. Well,
12,
that's military
1?
Folks say 13:08 or 1:08 p.m.
1:08. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the morning for me. I just had my coffee. It's lunchtime where you are now.
No, yeah. I just ate breakfast. My schedule has me waking up later, so I go to the gym when I wake up and then eat breakfast afterward, and so it's a late breakfast for me, I guess, or early lunch, however you want to call it.
Okay, well, let's get right into it, man. Today we have a special guest that's about to join us. He's currently working with A to Z Sports as a contract analyst. He's had prior guest appearances on Guilty as Charged podcast. Shout out to Guilty as Charged podcast, and also he's been a writer for Bolts from the Blue with SB Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself and Garret Osasa, help us give a warm welcome for Mr. Kyle D. Kyle, how you doing, man? So glad to finally have you here.
Good to see you guys. Thrilled to be on with you guys. This is an absolute blast. We've been talking about it for a while now, and it's fun to see it finally come to fruition.
Yes, that's right.
So pumped.
So last month, Garret gave me a call and said that Kyle reached out to him on X, and he'd been checking out the podcast and liked what he saw and wanted to know if we would be interested in an opportunity. So I reached out to Kyle and we had a conversation, but I'll let Kyle take it from there.
Yeah. So my buddy Ryan and Ryan Watkins, you might see me collaborating with him on some stuff. He wrote with me over at Bolts from the Blue as well. And we just wanted to create something that was kind of more of a hub for Chargers fans to go to that gave access to a bunch of different takes, perspectives, content, essentially a content community. So we developed a site called Stormcloud. And the idea was, with Jim Harbaugh saying that famous quote, "Dean, we are the storm." And then the idea of, cloud being something that is, typically associated with collaboration, all of us working together towards something. That's kind of the concept that we initially wanted to kind of roll with. So yeah, it's up and live right now. It's stormcloud.blog. We're still building it up. The big focus and priority of the site is number one, collaboration, and number two, community, and building that out. And so we have a very developed forum on there for our readers to interact with everybody, create their own topics of conversation as well. That way, if we don't get to something that's breaking news right away, a community member can. And there's just some cool features on it. Like I know if you read a lot of publications online like The Athletic or anything like that, they'll have comment streams at the bottom. Well, on our site, to try to encourage as much conversation as possible, all of our articles actually carry over to the forum, and people can interact and converse from there if they'd like. So they can either chat in the articles directly from the homepage or go to the forum and just be interacting with the community as a whole. We're still developing a lot of it out. It's still something that I'm working on every day, and I'm not a website developer. But the important thing is we've got really good people like you, Stacey, and you, Garrett, that are working with us on it. And we're just trying to create a really positive and fun environment for Chargers fans to come together and just, and I think with us being content guys, and I've talked to both of you about this, I only think our collaboration makes us all a little bit better. We all have our niches. We all have our takes and perspectives that can help each other's podcasts. And, if we're kind of working towards a common goal or under the same umbrella, we're able to cross over a little easier and work together on stuff. And it's something I'm really excited about.
Well, listen, man, I want to personally say thank you because when I got my diploma as a journalist, I had aspirations to be a writer or a blogger. And I reached out to local schools in my area where I live in. And I got a few calls back. I wanted to write and cover the sports for that particular community in their paper. But I found out really quickly how competitive that field is. And there were some people that I met there. They've been trying to get in for like 4 years. So, and they were much younger than me. So I fell back and said, okay, well, I'm going to do the podcast and I'll just be good with that. But then thanks to you, you gave me an opportunity to become a blogger, on Storm Cloud. And now I'm doing something that I really wanted to do from the start. And I love to do it. And I just want to personally say thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, Stacey, it's an honor to have you guys joining us, man. Both of you. I mean, I think, I really dug what I saw from your guys' podcast early on. You were both really positive and fun. You brought in guests that from other teams, which I thought was cool. Not a lot of pods that are starting out, have the cojones to do that. And you held the team accountable too, which was really good. We don't want to just be putting fluff out there all the time, but, but putting out excitement. And then I Garrett, just to pump you up a little bit, because I don't know if I've told this to you directly. I was telling Stacey, I was like, the type of audience that we're trying to build and community is exactly what Garrett is and what I've seen him be online. He's extremely positive, reaches out to everybody and interacts with everybody as if they're already family. And that's what I really, really want to try to cultivate over at Stormcloud. We've seen a lot of and not calling out any podcast in general, but we've just seen in the past there's been some drama between different groups. And the last thing we want as fans is infighting, man. We should all be rowing the same boat in the same direction and getting ready to, dance at a parade one day, have a little bit of fun. And
I won't remember one thing from that parade if we ever go to that. I promise you, that'll be it.
But that was one of the things that drew me to Garrett, man. I kept going on X to see what was the response to the podcast, because I go live on X as well as YouTube, because I know it's a lot of Charger fans on there, and I want to see some of the feedback. And I always seen this guy at G-Man, and he's constantly telling people, hey, this is a good pod. You guys got to check it out. He's been doing that for like a month, and I didn't know who he was. So one day I reached out to him, and we got on the phone and had a conversation, and we talked, I think, for like 2 hours on the phone. We did. I knew I was looking for someone that I could feed off of. And I knew after we had that conversation, I wanted him to be a part with me. And he's been great, man. He's been more than what I expected. So thanks, Garrett.
I don't know how I'm supposed to walk out of this room after this, but my head is like here now. I'm just like, I'm on cloud nine. Y'all just built me up so much.
Well, look, people don't want to keep hearing about these things. This is not the Hallmark channel. So let's jump right into some Charger talk. Hey, listen, Chris Rim, that's a beat reporter for ESPN and covered the Chargers. He wrote, and I'm quoting him, Joey Bosa said it'd be cool at some point to play with his brother, but always imagine retiring a Charger. But I want to win. I want to be on this team. I want another shot with the guys in this room, especially Khalil Mack. Now, I don't know about you guys, but like I listen to things with a third ear. And I heard something else in that statement. I want to know what did you hear? Or do you think I'm just overthinking it?
I know which quote you're talking about, and I think that he mentioned the Niners like free will. I think because like Christian brought it up, whatever. But I genuinely think he wants to stay, but I also think it's going to be at that price. I think he plans on showing out this season, and he's going to expect to get paid again. Now, will Ortiz pay him? A little bit longer in the tooth, that kind of guy. We'll see. But I'm not looking into it too much. I think that he looks up to Khalil Mack, and I think Khalil Mack taking that pay cut led to him stay, or led to him doing that. So.
I believe that too. Kyle, what you think?
Garrett, I was actually telling Stacey the other day, there's a part of me that thinks that Mac wasn't directly asked to take a pay cut only because of how great he did last year and held up. Part of me was wondering if they asked Joey to half his salary and then Khalil stepped in and said, hey, I'll bridge some of the gap. That was just like my total conspiracy theory.
Great speculation though. I like that a lot.
Because if you took both of their numbers combined, it's right around what half of Joey's salary would have been. So I was like, man, if that's what happened, I'm about that. But that's just, me just thinking. But man, overall, it's really interesting because with both Mac and Joey, when they took those pay cuts, they attached some terms into 2025. For Joey, his roster bonus is no longer due on the third day of the league new year. Mm-hmm. He brought it back to the very first day of the league new year. So there's not going to be this 3-day period where we can try to trade him without that added financial consequence. And with Mac, we can't franchise tag him. We either have to extend him or he's going to go test the open market. So I think there's a chance. Now, take it with a grain of salt because I said this last year with Telesco and it didn't happen. But I think Ortiz is more likely to do something like this. There's a chance that if we don't take off running this season to start the season, that they might look to next year and go, okay, we can't trade Joey at the end of the season if we are, heaven forbid, 4-6 as we're approaching. No, because we have the week 5 bye. If we're, let's say, sorry, I was going to say 2-6. If we're 2-5 or if we're 3-4 and they're like, Bud Dupree's doing fine. We might be able to part with Joey here. We're not planning on extending him and we're planning on cutting him at the end of the year. They might decide to trade him to the Niners. I'm not saying it's what I want to see happen, but it is something that now that they've pushed that roster bonus earlier, they're going to have to make a decision on him basically by week 8 about whether they want to trade him or whether they're okay letting him play it out and then either extending him in 2025 or cutting him out right there, or letting him play it out at the increased price. That could happen as well.
I do want to get into that a little bit. You was going into something else that I want to bring up later on, but let me ask you, because you're really good with these contracts than I am. You're a lot better at than I am. So I'm saying my understanding was, yes, Joey took a pay cut of $7 million this year, but Khalil Mack, to my understanding, he didn't take a pay cut. They restructured his deal. So when you restructure, I didn't think that had anything to do with pay cut. Am I correct with that? I thought maybe they took some of the money and put it up front as a signing bonus so it didn't count against the cap. I'm just guessing, but you're the man when it comes to that.
Man, so with Khalil Mack, I was pretty sure it was an outright pay cut, but it was frequently referred to as a restructure.
Yes.
Because that's one of my big gripes with and I'm just double checking right now, Stacey.
Okay.
But that's one of my big gripes with how the media reports these things. Anytime players adjust their contract, they often call it a restructure, even if it's an outright pay cut. But since there is an actual term for what it is to restructure your contract with what you just said, taking that salary, converting it into a bonus and spreading it over 5 years, that is, you shouldn't call a salary reduction a restructure. You should call it a pay cut, but they probably don't like that verbiage. So Mac reduced his salary from $23.25 million to $19 million. So it was a outright pay cut of just $4.25 million. That's directly off of the cap as well. And he cannot be franchise tagged in 2025. So it was a really smart move on Mac's part. He if he was cut by the Chargers, he would have been able to sign a multi-year deal. We just saw Von Miller sign for $20 million APY just a couple of years ago over a 5 or 6 year deal at 34 or something. It was crazy. Or 32, I think, is when he signed that. So it's nuts. He could have signed a multi-year deal that would have got him a lot of dough, but now he's at least protected in knowing that the Chargers can't drag their feet with committing to him long term. And even if it's a year after his big 17 sack season, he should still be able to sign something multi-year next year, especially if even if he regresses to like a 12 sack season, if you wanted to take away that 6 sack performance, like everyone's criticizing it for.
That's so crazy.
and just make it like a 12 sack season, he'll still get paid significantly. So
you think it was a pay cut, then the way they framed it.
Yeah,
it was a restructure.
Exactly.
Okay.
The media just mislabeled it. Certain media guys did put out, hey, this is a pay cut. So that's what it should be considered. Yeah.
Garrett, you want to jump in there?
Oh, no, I was just saying, because it's going to be interesting to see, like Kyle was saying, with how the season goes, if Mac and Bosa both go nuts and we win a playoff game, we win 2 playoff games, what happens then? Like what happened? Like, do we bring them both? Like, are we re-signing both of them? Do they take it? So I think it's going to have to really be a wait and see scenario, because we could lose one of them. Maybe we trade or whatever, or maybe we keep both of them, or maybe we keep one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's a possibility where if we do make a deep run, on the contrary to us being like 2-4, 2-5, what do we do then? Like, do they want to come back and maybe they take another pay cut because they're like, all right, this is the vision and it's coming together and now we're actually winning when it counts. And that's, I think, a really big concept to hold on to there.
Okay, sticking with Joey Bosa, he got to go up against and compete against Joe Alt a couple of times. And he said Joe Alt has good hands, good feet, very strong. But we'll see in a couple of weeks when I put a helmet on his chin and see how he holds up. What do you think about it? I like it. That's good stuff. I like it.
Listen, Harbaugh has preached competition, competitiveness since day one, and Harbaugh was laughing when he heard that, and Bosa even laughed in that presser when he said it. He said it with a little laugh at the end there, and I think he knows it'll be a welcome to the league moment for Joe Alt, I think.
Yes, Kyle,
man, Joey. We're all praying you hold up, man. Don't be talking about another guy not being able to hold up potentially. Right. I want to wrap you in bubble wrap right now.
Get that foot to hold up before you talk about a rookie holding up.
Have you seen Joe Alt's body? He's still got that baby face. His ligaments are all still rubbery. like, man, I know what happens when you turn 30, Joey. It happened to me, man.
That's right. I gotta figure Jim Harbaugh loves it though, man. Jim wants that. He loves that. He wants that competition. Before I go to Garrett, I want to ask you a question while I'm thinking about it, Kyle. I had read on one of your blogs on Stormcloud, and you were talking about how the lack of rest will hurt the Chargers this year. And I know they have 6 games versus teams on extra rest and 0 games against teams with short rest. But I know you talked about rest disparity. It's becoming a problem in the league. As the league tries to get creative with additional primetime games. And I know the Chargers have only 1 game this season where they have an edge in rest against their opponent. And on top of that, they also have more travel time in terms of mileage than any team in the NFL. Could you go a little deeper into that for me?
Yeah. So it's an article that Warren Sharp posted, and it's just an interesting take at looking at schedules, not just in comparing strength to schedule from the year before, based on the team's records from the year before that you're playing this season. Mm-hmm. It's trying to get a little more nuanced with it and see, okay, how many teams are coming in with, we've had seasons where it feels like we're always playing against teams that are coming off a bye, and they've had, 14 days to scheme against us. Right. And it's the point of the article isn't necessarily to just say like, hey, the Chargers are screwed this season, but it is to just point out like, hey, there are other mechanics at play that if the league is as focused on parity as we say they are, that we need to be looking at, because you can't have teams repeatedly playing Thursday night games and then getting that extra rest and coming back around to play another team. There should be things that we're doing, like, if a team plays on, a team should only be playing on Thursday if they're coming off a bye week. It doesn't make sense for a team to play Sunday and then play Thursday.
Okay.
That kind of thing that we'd like to avoid. Now, I don't think I don't think this regime, I don't think Jim Harbaugh is going to be looking at that schedule and going, what the heck? We're getting screwed over. He's a no nonsense kind of guy. Team travel days as well I think can actually, or travel miles can work as much for you as against you. If you've got a team that's bonding on the plane, that's stuck together and having a lot of fun together, that might be a really good thing. Sometimes those away game home trips. Remember that one year, guys, where we just chose to not come back home and we just stayed wherever we were because we had another game and the team bonded from it.
Yes.
That stuff can work for and against us. So it's just something to keep an eye on and see, on those short rest weeks, is it hurting us? But what's your take overall, Garrett? Would you be, I know you saw that article. Are you concerned about that yourself?
I think it's a very interesting take because I love the nuances that we're going into to see all right, hey, it's because I don't like the strength of schedule because based off a record the season before, which, okay, we've had the draft, we've had free agent acquisitions. Our team is not the same. We have a new head coach. We have a new coaching staff. That our record last year is not going to be the team that meets us this year, right? So that goes for other teams as well. I've always stood, and I'm a big proponent of, we're just a West Coast team, and that's the cards we get dealt. Unless we're playing the NFC West, that's two other divisions that we're probably playing where we have to travel at least 2 time zones or one. But most of the time, with all the teams that are concentrated in the Northeast, all the way down that Eastern Seaboard, across over to Dallas, you do have to fly, and you have to fly a lot, and that's just the way it is. And it just so happens, what are we playing? The AFC North and the NFC South this year. So that's a lot of. It's Tampa, that's New Orleans, it's all the Atlanta. It's a bunch of East Coast teams, 2 divisions, and that's just what you get.
Yeah.
Well, Garrett, let me say this. I want to throw this at you, and Kyle, you could jump in if you like as well. The Chargers drafted cornerbacks Cam Hart and Tarheeb Steele. We still have Josiah Taylor and Dean Leonard, and they also signed cornerback Christian Fulton. Now, we don't know if this is going to be the final roster for the secondary going into the season, but Asante Samuel Jr. is entering the final year of his contract. Do you think the Chargers extend him? And if they do, what does that extension look like?
I'll leave those numbers up to Kyle. He knows a lot about the number. He's a numbers guy. In terms of Asante Samuel Jr., I think he's been making some noise at OTAs. Now, take OTAs with a grain of salt, whatever. I feel like he's really kind of coming into it, but I think everyone's going to get this 1 year to make an impression on this coaching staff. And if it's not good enough, what's going to happen? If you're on that last year of your deal, you're probably gone, and they're just going to formulate it into the image they want. I do think that Asante Samuel will make an impression if he stays healthy, though. In my heart of hearts, I think he's back next year.
Kyle.
Man, I posted this on Stormcloud, and the guys were kind of on the same page. I posted it on Reddit, and I got cooked, boys. I have grill marks. No. It's not good. It's not good. I'm charred and burned right now.
Let me close out Reddit real quick.
Yeah. I was like, man. A lot of fans really like Zont because he creates turnovers, and that's exciting. That's understandable.
Yes.
I don't know if he's the culture fit for Jim, only because we haven't seen him make that impact in the run game yet.
Yeah.
2 different seasons ended on Zont blowing a run read. The Week 18 game against the Raiders, when they put Zay Jones in motion, Zont was supposed to follow him and fill that run read that they ran right to. And then Doug Peterson targeted him multiple times in a game that he got 3 interceptions and almost won us the game single-handedly. He also was a huge liability against the run. And I don't know if Jim's going to be okay with that. Can he change that? With the right coaching and mentality, if anybody can. So if that happens, I'm going to be the first one to say, yes, let's extend him. But right now I have him at a contract of about $16.4 million per year. On like a 4 or 5 year deal. The way we kind of got to that was making him kind of a tier below Trevon Diggs, but that's the kind of player that he's been so far, a guy that gets his hands on the football, makes a lot of interceptions, but has a little bit of a boom or bust element to him. And so that's kind of where I'm seeing it go right now. But I think what we might see, since Fulton's on a 1 year deal, since we have 2 young cornerbacks that we're developing right now, Zont is the perfect candidate for a franchise tag. Just give him one more year to develop and show out under Harbaugh. Let these younger guys develop. And it's also a position that we probably feel pretty confident, even if Hart and still kind of situational players, we can pretty reliably turn to the draft to pick up a day 1 or 2 cornerback that can come in and immediately help. With all these 7-on-7 drills that these college and high school kids are doing, cornerbacks are coming out in droves, same as wide receivers. So
exactly.
Stop gaps here would be ideal in my mind.
You know, one of the things that I always talked about, I remember Asante's his best season was his rookie season, and he was under Anthony Lynn at that time, and he was balling. And I've been highly critical of Brandon Staley, and pretty much the majority of all the players on that team under his schemes, under his coaching staff, regressed. You know, Durham, we never saw Durham be the playmaker he was before Brandon Staley got there. So I was wondering how much of Asante's regression, how much of it was coaching? You know what I mean? Because he was so good that first year. I was so excited about this dude, but yet now he looks like a liability in the middle of the field when he have to make open tackles. We've seen him miss those tackles, out of position, not being where he was supposed to be, and sometimes just get overpowered because he's not a big guy, you know. But I would love to see with Mentor and with Harbaugh, and he's being tutored by a really, really good coaching staff. I would like to see, and if he still regress, if he still have issues, then I get it. He'll probably be gone, you know, which is reason why they drafted 2 cornerbacks, you know, and they drafted him pretty high, that I thought. But I really like him, man, and he got it in his genes. His dad was a big time playmaker, and I'm really rooting hard for him. But I don't know if he's one of Harbaugh's type of guys, but we'll find out this year.
Absolutely. I mean, if anyone's going to put the size on him, let him be a little bit less of a liability in that run game. It's his staff, so they're going to be able to put eyes on him and see what's going to happen.
Well, I got a loaded question right now. I mean, when I tell you I got a loaded question, I want you guys to we want to really jump into this. It's actually a 2-part question. Like, we know football is a 17-game season, so we don't like to put a lot into one game, whether it's a W or L. But I remember the San Diego Chargers started off the 1992 season going 0-4. But when it was all said and done, they did win each of the final 7 games, including 11 of their last 12, to wrap up the division and finish with 11-5 record. In 2008, they became the first team in NFL history to start the season at 4-8. But thanks to a weak division, won their next 4 games, finished at 8-8, which they also won the division. So we know every game is important. But history teaches us that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Kyle and Garrett, with all this team has had to endure, all they've been through, the no luck and not being able to catch a break, and considering how things went the last time they faced the Raiders, even though it's just the opening game of the season, and again, I emphasize it's only one game. Also, how the Chargers have evolved during the offseason with the smart pickups and what the Jim Harbaugh effect brings. How huge is that first game? And what message will be sent with the Chargers win? Not just to the AFC West, but the rest of the league as well. And then let's flip it and say, what would a Charger loss mean to Antonio Pierce and the Raiders? And how will that affect the psyche of the Charger fans? Ooh. Who wants to take that?
What a setup. I have anxiety from the way you delivered that. I'm like ready to – I want the game to be this Sunday. 3 letters, FTR. Family, trust, respect. No, I think this fan base is so fragile. I guess I'm going to answer your second part first. If we come out and go 0-1, especially against the Raiders at home in our home opener after all this offseason hype, same old Chargers, offseason champs, I can already see the narratives coming. It's not even it's predictable at this point. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to ruin my day by thinking negativity. I'm just gonna.
No, it's really not negative. Listen, I really believe that we can be great podsters by, even though we're diehard fans, sometimes we have to be able to take the emotion out from being a fan. Let's just be objective. You know what I mean? So, listen, we can lose it.
Yeah,
I don't want to see it happen, but I want to talk about both sides. What a win would mean for this team and the fan base, and what would a loss mean after all the hype that you were talking about, Garrett. And then we come in with Harbaugh, with Antonio Pierce, who's technically a rookie coach. How would they look? Now, I know it's not a popular conversation that Charger fans would like to have, but we have to have it. We do this here on Chargers Talk 4630. So, Kyle, what do you think?
To me, it's everything about how a win or loss would go down. If it was a game where we got ahead early, and then Garrett's already just Garrett's hyperventilating. No,
brown paper bag.
If we get ahead early and we try to go back to the running game and can't move the rock and allow the Raiders to stay within reach, and then they come back from behind at the end of the game, we're all going to lose our mind.
Yeah.
If there's typical growing pain transition stuff that happens, as long as I'm going to be looking for the offensive line to be working as a cohesive new unit, and for there to be improvement from Zion and, Pipkins, if he's the right guard, or Sawyer, if he ends up overcoming him in training camp, with them having a good, center that knows the system. Clapp just didn't really do it for us last year.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's improvement there, I've said from the beginning, guys, and it's great that we have Jim and we should win that game. But my biggest priority this year is for Justin Herbert's career to not go the way of Andrew Luck. I want to see Herbert upright, protected, healthy for a 17-game stint. And, if it comes with some losses, that's a huge bummer. But if we come in and we do protect Herbert, that's great. If we win that game and protect Herbert, I am going to be thrilled. I think it's like we said, we're expecting to. But my priority is definitely going to be around seeing that culture shift of, hey, we're going to keep Herbert upright. We're not going to rely on him to throw 50 times a game, and we're going to pound this rock. If we do that and we show signs of progressing in that direction and we do lose, I'm going to be bummed. It's going to suck. Yeah. Twitter's going to be a mess. But if it sets a place for us to start and we just build from there, then in the end result, I'm going to be okay with it. I won't lose my mind too much.
And I'll say with that, if we have one of the best people in charge to take an L going into the next week with this team. So if that's what happens, and like you said, it's how it goes down. I just think that the Raiders, they just always come. They come for us, and it's crazy. That win and in game that we had, and like you kind of alluded to with the Zay Jones motion and Zont following him, but he didn't follow him. Losing that one has just left me scarred with Raiders games. Yeah, I just have it is like it gives me anxiety every time, and I just get so nervous. Even this last one when we beat him with Josh Palmer down the sideline on that, what was it, 3rd and 10? Yeah. I was like, if we don't get this, they have a minute with the ball, and I was just having flashbacks all over again. So it's just like they're just always hanging around in every game.
Well, we've been really excited when Harbaugh got here because we've never made a move of this importance from a coaching standpoint. You gave him total control, and he brought in Joe Ortiz, and I'm not just saying, I'm not saying this just as a fan, but when we go into predicting games, one of the ways you predict games, you look at what personnel each team have, and you say this one, we're more talented right now than the Las Vegas Raiders. We have a top 5, in my opinion, quarterback against theirs. They don't have Josh Jacobs anymore, who's been huge for them the last couple of years. And with this whole Harbaugh, I expect to win. After all this team been through, I am expecting them to go in and handle their business. And if they don't, I know it's only one game, and then we'll have to come here on this podcast and have to inspire people that it's okay. The sky isn't falling. But, man, it would be nice doing this podcast if we start off this season after what happened with us last year by beating them damn Las Vegas Raiders. So
you ever seen those roofs that kind of come to a point right there? And so we're going to be this egg that's on top in the middle for week 1. And if we lose, we're going all the way down that hill. And if we win, we're going on that side. And that's what it's going to be, full steam ahead off of Dub. We're Super Bowl champs. I'm getting my tickets. It's fine.
See, we're such a fragile fan base right now because of what we've been through. And the fan base is excited. I'm excited. And you get off to a good start, that would be so good for the psyche and the health of Charger fans. We don't want to, we want to get rid of this taste out our mouth with Brandon Staley the last few years and what happened last year. You win this game, I see fans coming back. I like what Jim Harbaugh did. They went into San Diego County, and he looks like to me he's trying to bridge that gap between San Diego and LA. It was the San Diego Chargers since I started watching. It didn't bother me because I'm traveling to the West Coast to watch them, whether they're in San Diego or LA. So it didn't bother me, but it really hurt a lot of people. And I think that's what Harbaugh is. That's what that was all about. What you think about that, Kyle?
Well, I'm from North County, San Diego, man. So
there you go.
How did you feel when it happened? How did you? Because you're the first guy from that area that I know. How did you feel when they moved to LA?
I was bummed. I'm of the mindset that I don't like teams getting public funding to begin with. I don't think cities should be building stadiums. So when they did it in a way that wasn't going to cost them any money, and receive public funding for it, it wasn't the end of the world for me. I was bummed. I was sad to see them go, but there was a lot more that happened before that as San Diegans, there was frustrations about a lot of money going into Qualcomm that ended up just being, a waste because the stadium just had to get bulldozed when they left. So that's something that I wish the league would kind of figure out. Like if public funding goes to a stadium, a team shouldn't really be able to leave. At least if they do, that relocation fee that's $550 million. Instead of the NFL taking that, I kind of wish that would be in some way portions of it sent to the city that lost the team to offset the investment that they put into the stadium or the team previously. It's just my take. The biggest bummer for me, in my opinion, was the fact that it was a kind of like a fly by night, we're gone deal. And they didn't, hang out and give us a chance to kind of do a last hoorah for a season or two, with Philip still there, with, with kind of our core guys there. I know for a lot of fans, Carson was awesome. And I don't want to take that away from the fans that loved how intimate that experience was.
Yeah.
But for a fan that, has a different perspective and lives in San Diego, I was totally looking at the Raiders and going, it feels like we're getting outclassed by the Raiders right now. They got to have this really cool experience where Marshawn Lynch, came out of retirement to go play in the Bay Area for the last couple seasons of the Raiders playing in the Coliseum. And it was really hard as a San Diego fan to be watching that and going, man, I wish we were able to have that with Phil. Yeah. So that was the only bummer in my mind. The Raiders could have gone to Las Vegas right away and played in the college stadium that the team, I think it's
UNLV.
UNLV.
Right,
yeah. They're sharing Allegiant right now. They could have very easily moved to Las Vegas and played in their old stadium, but they didn't. They stuck around for a couple seasons and gave Oakland a chance to get a little bit of closure before the breakup. But
it never stopped you from you continue to root for the team the following year, right?
Yeah. I kept following the team, and there was a part of me that was a little jaded and was like, hey, I might just be watching until Philip, or at the time I was, I still am a fan of Bosa, but I was like, man, I've never seen a guy change our defense like Joey Bosa before. So I'll stick around until these guys are gone. But it's in your blood, man. Once you're a diehard fan. What's tough is being a fan of the Padres and the Chargers, because to a certain sect of Padres fans, I am like the biggest treasonous traitor because I still follow the Chargers. And I'm like, dude, can we just enjoy sports?
Right.
I can't, I don't get it personally. I get that you feel like the team slapped your city in the face, but I just don't share that sentiment. I mean, if I had a free place to play, or just to live, I might, sell my house and then go live somewhere for free if it's a state-of-the-art mansion. If anyone should be frustrated, if San Diegans want to aim their frustration at anybody, it should be Roger Goodell for allowing the Spanos family and forcing Kroenke to rent, SoFi to them for free.
Exactly.
They got bailed out in a big way there. And I was really curious to see how they would have addressed having to find a new stadium if they had to pay for it themselves.
Garrett, how did you feel about it?
So I was on deployment in Japan in this time. And I believe this is, I don't know the draft. I think it was the same draft that happened as when the Chiefs got Mahomes. I think it was that kind of time frame. I may be wrong. I don't know. But I just remember I was in Japan. That draft was happening. Then the move was happening. I think we lost to the Browns, and they were winless that year, and we gave them their first win.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's what – you remember this? I mean, I'm just bringing up all the bad stuff. I said I wasn't going to be negative, and here I am. And I was like, all right, that's cool. But I think that it was – for me, like you, Stacey, I was living in Florida. I was on deployment in Japan, living in Florida. This is so far from me. Being a San Diego native, it hurt a little bit, but I had been used to traveling to see them, to watch them so frequently that it wasn't. I'm either flying into LAX or I'm flying into San Diego. It just changes the airport for me. I was sympathetic for my friends and family that wanted them to stay, so that kind of sucked. But outside of that, I was like, I'm cool with it. Like LA is not too bad. I'd pick San Diego 10 times out of 10. For sure. Yeah. But LA is not the worst place either.
Okay. I got one question left for Kyle. In 2007, the Chargers had explosive offense when they had the trio of LT, Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers, and believe it or not, their number one wide receiver at that time was Eric Parker, and he had went down midway through the season with a broken right toe. So determined not to miss a beat, A.J. Smith made a trade like 8 weeks into the season by giving up a 2008 second-round pick to the Miami Dolphins for wide receiver Chris Chambers, which paid dividends for the Chargers. So, Kyle, if the Chargers are right in the thick of things in the middle of the season and sees one area where they can improve the overall team, how likely will we see a midseason trade from Joe Ortiz?
I think it's really likely. And I don't know if it's necessarily a piece that they're going to plug in to try to win this season, or if it's a piece that they see as a potential foundational guy that they can build around. I wrote about this recently on Stormcloud. Joe Ortiz, the Ravens don't typically make huge splash free agent signings, right? They did one time, they deviated. And the only time that they've signed a guy that was whose average per year was enough to earn the departing team a third-round compensatory pick was Earl Thomas. And he was coming off of, a lot of drama. He gave the team the bird as he was, getting carted off the field the season.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Well, that was at Pete Carroll, wasn't it? They were
that was Seattle.
Yeah. Yes. Big old finger, man.
Right. Yeah.
And that ended up being a dumpster fire. They gave him a huge contract. He ended up playing that first season, had a locker room fight with one of their defensive linemen that wasn't available for a game. I think it was week 4 against the Browns. And then in the offseason, he had that really weird altercation with his wife. Training camp came around. He fought another safety, and that was enough for them to, void his contract and kick him off the team. I think there's a chance that Ortiz learned from that incident. And the next time they signed a really big guy, it was not through free agency. They instead traded for Roquan Smith, similar to Chris Chambers, a second, but also a fifth. Yes. And they sent a veteran linebacker to the Bears to get Roquan Smith at the deadline in 2022. So if you're going to want to sign some guy that's going to be so expensive that you're going to lose a third-round pick anyway, let's just say, a compensatory pick if you have somebody that's going to go out and earn that. Why not go ahead and just part with the draft capital now and give yourself a chance to preview him? Get yourself a little sample of how he fits in your locker room. Earl Thomas came into the Ravens locker room and he never was a fit. He was always fighting. But Roquan Smith came in mid-season, showed that he could be a leader amongst those guys, and that they gelled together and they had success together. And the Baltimore Ravens were like, $100 million contract. That was a year and a half ago, and he's still the highest paid off-ball linebacker. So that's the kind of move that I would love to see Joe make. We have the cap next season to go out and get guys, but let's do it in a way that's creative. And with us having 3 compensatory picks coming in next season, we can afford to spend some of those to go bring in some guys. We have that gives us 10 picks to start without any trade downs. So I don't know what position it would be, guys. Pat Freiermuth, someone that's been thrown out there that I think would be really interesting if they were to say, that kind of scenario would likely be, okay, Hayden Hurst, hasn't come back from that, what sounded like a really serious concussion last year. Maybe his head's still getting rocked when he's, against contact again in a game scenario. Let's go ahead. We need another tight end. We need somebody that's going to be here for a while. Let's go get Freiermuth and, then try him out and extend him. And then we don't lose a comp pick for extending him because he's within our organization. Garrett, who's a target that you'd like to see?
Well, first off, I read that article, and so that's when we started to talk about it. I was like, I know this. I saw the article too. And I thought that was really, really cool insight, Kyle, because I was like, honestly, you're just advancing the game anyway into the current season and then rolling that into the off season, and you can, move your numbers around, and it makes a ton of sense. As you were talking about that, I was like, what position do I think? And I think maybe, God forbid, running back. But things have to happen. Maybe Gus doesn't pan out. Maybe JK goes down again. Maybe Isaiah Spiller's not all he's scrapped up to be, I think that there's a lot of running backs out there that could probably move. And as we see this running back market, even though it was kind of just, I wouldn't say reset, CMC just got CMC money. And he still probably is underpaid for the way he plays. But I think that there's a lot of running backs that can move that are probably your high B listers that can come in and make a difference right away. And if that's the case and that happens, then we can roll into next year, sign them to a better deal, and then we just move forward.
Interesting. Well, listen, I saw these stats yesterday, right? I'm gonna show you these stats right here. And since 2020, passing yards per game, Justin Herbert second with 277. Pass attempts per game, second, 39. Passing touchdowns, 114. That's fourth. But look at the hits that were taken. Third, 382 hits. That's too many hits. This is the reason why I love having Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman there. I think people going crazy thinking that that's going to slow Justin Herbert down. What do we do with Justin Herbert? No. They bring in all these running backs. Oh, Greg Roman, all he wanted to do is run. But every time you see highlights and they're showing you footage from the OTAs, you see in Justin Herbert throwing bombs. You haven't really seen the running backs running at all. But I'm going to say, now that they don't have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and, there's a huge shift in the philosophy with regards to what the identity is going to be with this team now. So as this offense continues to evolve, and there's a big emphasis on running the ball, which is a big topic of conversation based on the personnel they brought in from Baltimore. And you got Greg Roman there, so we know it's going to start up front for this Chargers team. And I believe the running game, if successful, is going to set the tone more so than Herbert earlier in the season. Running the football will ultimately protect Herbert from all those unnecessary hits, keep him out of third and long situations, which should lead to a much better and productive Justin Herbert, because we know he's special. Now he got 4 years of experience under his belt. He's a veteran quarterback with a really, really great head coach that has not just played in this league, but it's an incredible motivator. Brandon Staley was the model of inconsistency. Everybody knows how I feel about that. He was just so up and down, just wasn't consistent enough. But Jim Harbaugh, every week you're going to get consistency from him every week. And I think Harbaugh is right at the top of the list of these coaches who will have the quickest level of impact in terms of turning the organization around immediately. Why? Because we've seen him do it so often throughout his career. Now, there's one thing that bothers me, and I've always said it because it's been a thorn in the Chargers' sides for a couple of decades now. And it's about the health of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, of course, because of the track record they had with Baltimore. So being able to stay healthy is the key to success for this team. You won't see the same mistakes made by the coaching staff that we saw in L.A. over the last few years under Brandon Staley. You're going to see a lot more consistency, and I think that's going to help this team win a lot of games. And it's going to help propel Justin Herbert into that conversation when they talk about the Mahomes and they talk about the Josh Allens and the Lamar Jacksons. You'll be able to put them in because Harbaugh has to get him to the point where you're not only winning more games, you're winning games when they matter in December, and you're playing in a tournament in January. And that's what will propel him into that next level. What you guys think about that?
I have a counterpoint to this. And I first of all, I agree. I think that running the ball, taking the pressure off of Herbert allows him, and plus that's going to suck the defense up. You're going to get players that can, go over the top of the defense. We all know how it works. FanDuel shared something yesterday, and I just wanted to, it's an average scoring defense rank for quarterbacks that have started. You have Tom Brady that had the first average scoring defense. Lamar Jackson had the first. Josh Allen had second. Ben Roethlisberger, second. Patrick Mahomes, 7th. Aaron Rodgers, 8th. Joe Burrow, 14th. Justin Herbert, 28th.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. So I'm just, as much as we're focused on the offense, Jesse Minter in this defense, if we can just get to average, that's swinging 3-4 games in our favor. We know how to stay in games. We very rarely get blown out, minus another Raiders game that we have to talk about. But I just, it's one of those, if we are cohesive as a unit, if our offense can run the ball, sustain drives, and we put up points, if our defense can get those stops, our special teams is our special teams. I think that's the one unit I'm just not even skeptical about. But if our defense can get up to average, if we get top 10, that's just crazy. But if we're average defense, we're winning more games, and we're losing in that moment.
Really quick, this is true, but the reason why I put so much emphasis on the running game, because when you're just going 1, 2, 3 and out constantly, how is your defense going to be effective when they're on the field all the time?
Valid.
You do those long methodical drives that we've seen the Baltimore Ravens do so many times, and the other team is, your defense is sitting on the sideline for 6.5 minutes. That's how you keep those guys fresh, and they can play at their best and at a high level. So although I totally agree that the defense needs to be better, I think it will be better, and it'd be great if we have a better than average defense. But what good will it do if you can't sustain drives and run the ball? So that's why.
That's fair. What you think, Kyle?
We often
wing it, Kyle. Come on, wing it. I can tell by the look on the face. Go ahead, wing it.
No, I just trying to watch my words here. I don't. We used to what would we call it? Kind of like reconstructing the run game, or we were using Eckler in those ineffective screen passes before as a way to try to gain back what we should have been able to do by just pounding the football. And that increased, Herbert's attempts a lot, and those little passes out of the backfield. And there was just, I miss the days of, we knew that Tyrell Williams had a certain skill set. He could take a drag route and, get the ball from Phillip, on the run. And he was great at turning that thing upfield and getting some good yak with his speed. Yeah. I just felt like we just kept trying to shove a bunch of square pegs in round holes last year, and nothing really made sense to me. You guys have talked about it, about Quentin Johnston's usage last year. And I always thought that Darius Davis should have been given more unique, creative opportunities. You watch how McDaniel, gets Tyreek Hill the ball, and it's all stuff that really maximizes his skill set. And I just really hope that this year, and I fully believe we do, we see more of that. There's more creativity. There's more building our skill set positions around their strengths, especially now that we don't have guys that are good at every single thing a wide receiver can do, like Keenan Allen is, even though he's amazing at everything. The only thing he lacked was that real ability to take the top off somebody. Yeah, right. But now we've got guys. It's like, okay, no, this is what Ladd's skill set is. Let's try to keep him in this box the best we can, at least for the first year or two. Same thing with Johnson. Same thing with Rice. And then in terms of, running the ball, like you're talking about, Stacey, absolutely. It's with identity is, I think, what we want to focus on is, and that's just like what we're talking about with those role-playing players, role-playing receivers. When we run the ball, we want to do it with identity. We don't want to be recreating it with short screen passes to Eckler. We want to do it in a way, because what happens with that? A lot of times, sure, the offensive line might be rolling out, but there's not that same, no, we're going to take your defensive line and we're going to push it back 3 yards. When you're doing that, it's a mentality thing. We want our linemen to be going downhill, smacking them in the mouth, and then standing over them and saying, are you ready to go in 30 seconds? Because we're going to do that again. and we're going to move you back again
Yeah.
and again and again.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Yes,
And then when
yes.
we are third and short, what does that set us up for? A play action, going deep, putting Herbert in a position to be delivering final blows. Before, he was jabbing, he was hooking, he was doing everything.
Yeah.
What if our running game was just able to jab, 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 and then Herbert was coming in and was able to throw a haymaker? That's what I want to see with this offense.
Yeah. And I mean, Austin Eckler took a lot of heat, and I liked Austin Eckler, but a lot of it wasn't his fault that we couldn't run the ball. The offensive line was atrocious. It just was. You know, when Slater went down, we had nobody. You know, Corey Linsley went down. I mean, Justin Herbert, when he hiked the ball, they were in the backfield already. So it was hard to run. And he was doing everything he can. I mean, he got hurt the last couple of years with the rib injury 2 years ago. Then he hurt his finger. And I hear Harbaugh, you know, a lot of people say, oh, man, Harbaugh he's in awe. He's not in awe. He know what he's doing. Harbaugh's a smart man. He knows what he's doing. He's seen a lot of great quarterbacks throughout what he's trying to do is if there was any doubt about confidence, he's trying to get that confidence back, because when you know you're the man, and Herbert knows, and you're getting $50-something million a year, but every time you get out there, you're getting crushed all the time, the doubt could seep in. He's trying to install that confidence, tell them, listen, you are the man. You are as good as everybody think they are, but belief, it starts with that first. You have to believe it first. And then you go out there, and that's what he's really doing. He's not as so much in awe, but he wants Justin Herbert. Listen, you're just as good as Patrick Mahomes. You're just as good as Lamar Jackson. When you believe it, go out there and show us. But we're going to give you that protection. We're not going to have you running for your life and taking these hits. And I know he said, he's such an athlete. He's so big, dude. Is so strong. He could play tight end. He could play. And people are like, wow, Justin Herbert could play. I've seen people saying, wow, he could play tight. You don't want this man to be going out there taking no hits. You know, I remember that game against Matt Crosby against the Raiders. It was a pick, and he tried to block Max Crosby and broke his finger in Max Crosby. Listen, stop it. He's a quarterback, guys. Understand the bigger picture of what Harbaugh is doing. I'm not saying you guys. I'm just saying the Charger fans. Understand what Harbaugh is doing. He's instilling confidence in this dude, and he's telling them, listen, we're going to give you the time you need. We're going to give you the running game. And I believe this is going to be his best season, and he has some really good ones stat-wise. But we don't want him to just be known for stats. Yep. We want you to be playing in December and January. And that's what got me so excited. And I got to pull it back, because I started getting really excited when I start talking about Justin Herbert. So I'm going to pull it back. But Garrett, you had some bold predictions you want to throw in. Let's hear it.
I was going to throw it out there. I know we're running kind of long than what we normally want to do, but I just wanted to see if you guys had any bold predictions. I had one for myself, and it's my I guess it's not really. It's bold, but it's not like unfeasible. I got Joshua Palmer hitting 1,000. Everyone's talking about all these receivers and not a number one. I think Palmer. This is where he separates. I think this could be that year. They're connecting a lot in OTAs. I think he caught 2 touchdowns yesterday. OTAs again. I get it.
Yes,
but that chemistry is building, and Herbert's building chemistry with everybody. So I think Palmer can be that guy. He can put up 1,000, and if he throws double-digit touchdowns, or if he gets up to double-digit 10 and 1,000, would be crazy. And I think that'd be fantastic to see.
That's good. I would like to see it. It's 4 years in. It's time now. I mean, no more
he's about to get paid if he does that.
You're not behind Keaton and Mike Williams no more. It's time for you to embrace that role now. So let's see. I like that. Kyle, you got any bold predictions?
I got one for you.
Okay.
And personally, I don't think it's that bold, because I really believe in the guy. But I think Alohi Gilman solidifies himself as a top 10 safety this year. Maybe top 50 at the worst.
I like that.
And if Derwin goes back to form, that defense is going to be fierce.
I like that. I've always liked Alohi Gilman.
Yeah. I mean, he was graded as, I think, the 7th highest zone safety last year. But it normally takes, when you're a 6th-round pick without the speed measurables that people find really sexy, it takes a couple of years of consistent play before people, the first season that you really jump and make that leap, the first thing that happens is people's head just turns. And then the next season you repeat it. Now they're already looking at you and they see it, and they believe what they're seeing. I think this is the year that the media believes what they're seeing in Alohi Gilman, and he really takes off.
Okay. I like that.
What about you, Stacey?
Bold predictions. All right. maybe this is bold. I really believe it. I'm gonna say this. The last couple of years, 3 years under Brandon Staley, the Chargers have lost 18 games by 3 points or less. That tells you that they were in the games. Had he been making better, smart decisions, we could have closed some of those games out. But do you go back how many times in each of those games where he went for fourth and everything in your own area? You know, and I those decisions cost some games, but the Chargers was pretty much in all of their games. So it tells me this team was competing. But I would say with the additions of Harbaugh and Greg Roman, I could see us being 11-5 and winning the wild card, because I do believe the Chiefs probably going to win 12, 13 games like they always do. I could see us going 11-5. That's my bold prediction. Okay. I don't know if I don't really believe this, but I really believe in this organization now. For the first time since 2006, I really believe that they have a window and they got the right people in place in terms of Harbaugh and them to get it done. So I believe 11-5. I do.
Wait. I think would it have to be? I think it'd have to be 11-6.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
17 games.
But an
all right, I'm gonna stay with 11 wins.
11 wins. Yeah. I think that's a great. Stacey, and I don't think it's unattainable, man. I really think that that's where, maybe we don't put our expectations in, Jim, but I think that's a safe landing spot for our hopes to be. I think if, like you said, we turn some of those 3-point games into wins, just smart coaching alone should get this team over that hump a bit. So I'm right there with you, man. So if that's what you see happening, we're wild card, we're going up against one of the division winners. How far do you see us going in the playoffs?
I mean, it's early right now, but I would say this is what I predict for the Chargers team, how far they get. And I hope that I'm wrong, because I hope they better than what I'm thinking. 11-6 and one playoff win. That's what I see. At least one playoff win.
Listen, I'll take that. You know what I mean? Like, like that's great. That's not even like a.
Listen, if Harbaugh has done this everywhere he went, why not us?
Yeah.
Why not us? We have Justin Herbert. If we could pretty much stay healthy with Gus, let's not forget. Gus Edwards is coming off a 13 touchdown season, where he, on these long methodical drives, this guy was good, and J.K. Dobbins was just as good as any back in the league before he started having his injuries. So if you can keep these guys healthy, I mean, imagine what a healthy running game, effective running game do for Justin Herbert. And then if the defense is playing, and listen, I'm saying 11-6 and we can get a play. I believe Harbaugh that he can do that.
That's as realistic as you can get on the optimistic side. Like, that's just, 11-6 is a great record. And
I mean, the 49ers, what? The 49ers had lost 8 years in a row, 8 losing seasons, and was 6-10. And next thing you know, you're 13-3 in the NFC title game. Come on, that's who Jim Harbaugh is. That's who he's always been.
And it will surprise no one if he does that.
Why not us?
You're right. It'll surprise nobody if he does that too. Like, I will not be shocked if we come out and that 11-6 is our record. Because all right, Jim Harbaugh, that's what we got.
And it's no pressure. They took a lot of primetime games from us. A lot of people every year was saying Super Bowl. Look at the team they got. Now people are saying, they probably maybe win 7-8 games, and that's good. I like it that way.
Yeah. Same.
Under the radar.
And if they, and this might be loser's mentality, I don't know, but my dream for that season in that scenario, Stacey, would be that one win being against the Chiefs. That would be. I mean, if we could get to the playoffs, and because I think the Chiefs are a little vulnerable in that Travis Kelce's getting older, and we haven't seen Patrick Mahomes redefine himself without Travis Kelce yet. I was questioning if he'd be able to do it without Hill. I was proven wrong. That taught me a lot about the importance of a quarterback having their go-to tight end
and a coach.
The coach.
Yes.
But I am curious because Kelce's just that guy that moves the chains for them all the time, and they are so on the same wavelength. What's going to happen when that team does lose him and they have to transition? So every year that we could manage to take away from Kelsey and the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl is just such a win for me. It would feel so good. So please,
yes.
That
and we play the Chiefs just as good as anybody else. It always come down to the final seconds when we play the Chiefs all the time. So
100%. Yeah.
If we're not the Chiefs, have to play it. That's our Super Bowl. I don't even care. I don't want to be a loser's mentality. I'll throw our own parade. I'm like, guys, let's go. We got this.
yes. I think we're heading for a good season, man. I think it's time, man. We've had a long stretch where we have high hopes and all our key players start going down with injuries. Then we don't have no depth on the offensive line, no depth at receiver, nothing at the running back. And it hurts. So I think it's time for the tide to start changing for us. And I think that when Spanos realized, okay, when he moved out to LA, he kind of got it. All right, I'm going for it. You remember that couple of years ago when they had the free agent frenzy and every time you turn around, the Chargers signed Khalil Mack. The Chargers signed J.C. Jackson. The Chargers signed Sebastian Joseph. And we like, wow, we're not used to that. But he didn't have the right coach in place. That's why you look at Mike Tomlin, who's been 17, 18 years in the league without a losing season. You see what Andy Reid done for 10 years in a row over in Philadelphia with Donovan McNabb and them guys. And then what he's done now with Kansas City. Coaching matters so much. I'm so happy to have Jim Harbaugh because I know that's going to make a world of difference. He alone, with his coaching ability, can win you about 3 games that you shouldn't win.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I like that 11-6. Somebody take it from me because, I get to, when I start talking, listen, I've been a Charger fan for 46 years, man. I've been through so much. I got friends that will call me on the phone and say, man, I feel so bad for you, man, because y'all ain't gonna never win a ring. That used to hurt, man. That used to hurt. But so for the first time, I had those same friends calling me now saying, wow, you guys got Jim Harbaugh. Now you guys, that makes me feel, even those guys that said you'll never win a Super Bowl, now they're telling me you got a shot now with Jim Harbaugh. So I'm excited. I love it.
Oh, yeah. No, it's go ahead, sorry, Garrett.
Oh, no, Kyle, you're good, man. I was just going to follow up. Like, I think we're all in the same boat with that one, right? I think that having Jim Harbaugh, that we all wanted it. And when we signed him, I remember where I was having some pho, having my little soup, and I was drinking my water. My buddy's like, "Oh, y'all did it," and I was like, "What do we do?" He's like, "Y'all signed Jim Harbaugh." I stopped eating, which never happens for me. I'm always eating. And I pulled out my phone and I freaked out. I was so excited. So that started this momentum, and it's been building ever since that signing happened. And now we're bringing in these players, and we had the draft, and now we're all excited about Joe Alt. And I think it's building to be a very special season, and I can't wait.
Yes.
It's the polar opposite of what all of us are used to. I did like how they structured, and maybe it's not the polar opposite. When they did hire Anthony Lynn, I really liked that they recognized first-time head coach. Let's surround him with former head coaches, with Gus Bradley and Ken Wisenhunt. I thought that was smart.
Yeah.
We did the exact opposite with Staley. We're like, first-time head coach, it's only been a coordinator for 1 year. Let's give here are the keys. Right. Whoever you want, you get. And it was a disaster. Just up and down our coaching staff. Ficken was a great ad. I'm proud of him for that.
Yes.
But Staley just seemed way over his head, and we've reverted back to prioritizing our staff members, but now we also have a head coach, like you said, Stacey. I mean, we don't need with Staley, we were projecting him to grow. With Anthony, we were projecting him to grow and really buying in on his potential. Mm-hmm. I don't need you to grow one bit, Jim.
Right.
You
just be you.
You be you. You be the coach you've been your whole life. And I'm signing up for it.
Yes.
And it makes me look back when I see his press conferences, guys. I'm like, man, 49ers. Like, what? How do you have this man in your building and not prioritize building around him, not getting rid of that general manager? Because I can see how, if you are not, football is life, Danny Rojas from
nice mention. I like it. Ted Lasso, I got you.
Right. It's wrong. It's the wrong football, but football is life. If football is life, then I could see how you're like, man, I don't want to answer your text at 2 a.m. I want to sleep. But if, you got a guy like Jim that is so hooked on it, and then you got a guy like Joe Ortiz who's like, yeah, I moved to LA. My family's not here yet. Hey, Chad Alexander, Greg, we're all gonna like frat house this thing. You guys can all live in the house I'm renting, and we'll just talk football and get this thing going. I'm like, are you guys serious? We've got some guys that live, eat, and sleep this thing. And
yes.
I can't believe the Niners didn't do everything they could to protect that. And I'm really glad to see that, the Spanos family is handing him the keys and letting him be Jim, because I think the more Jim we get, the better we're going to be.
I believe that too. 100%. Garrett, you want to close out with anything?
Great episode, Kyle. It's been an honor having you on, man.
100%.
Yeah. I'm so pumped. Last day of OTAs today, obviously. So OTAs will wrap up today, and then we got about a month and change. We'll hit up training camp. I don't even think training camp dates are out yet. Usually it's the end of July, right? Somewhere around there, like July 20th, somewhere. Yeah. But they're not out yet. But obviously we'll keep these podcasts coming. We're doing them once a week at least. And so even up and through this lull that we're about to go into, we'll keep you all informed. And honestly, it's just always a pleasure coming on here with you, Stacey and Kyle. Pleasure meeting you, kind of, on here. I'll see you at a game soon enough, I'm sure.
Hey, it was an honor, guys. This was a blast. Thanks for having me. This was a really fun time. And anytime you guys need a third or need somebody to fill in, I'm always happy to support you guys, man. I love what you guys are doing. And the more we get to work together, the happier I'm going to be.
Yes, fantastic. Man. I was watching the time, and me and Garrett always say we always focus on staying within a half hour. We went well over an hour, but guess what? I loved it. I didn't care about the time this time, man. No. I think people are going to learn a lot from this podcast. I'm glad they will be people that support Chargers Talk 4630 will be introduced to Kyle. I think Kyle is a big addition to what we're trying to do. And I look forward to myself and Garrett look forward to working with Kyle down the road. So this was great. I love it. And that ends our segment today of Chargers Talk 4630. What a great show it was today. We thank Kyle again for dropping in and sharing his knowledge with us today. For more on Kyle, you can go to stormcloud.blog to read articles he's published, as well as myself and other terrific bloggers that's on that site. We thank you, the viewer, for always tuning in, engaging with us in the chat room with your comments and questions. We're great with you, but we're nothing without you. So again, thank you. For new people that joined us for the first time, if you like the content here and want to support our community, please don't forget to follow us by clicking on the subscribe button. It is not a paid subscription. It is free. You can also follow and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. And also don't forget to share this podcast with someone who may not have tuned into us yet. And I can't say it enough about how much we appreciate you as well as your support. Until then, be safe, be well, enjoy the rest of your day, and bolt up. Garrett and Kyle, thank you, man. What a hell of a show. Look to have plenty more with you down the road.
Oh, yeah. Bolt up, baby.
Right on, guys. Have a great one. Thanks
All
again.
Right. You as well. Okay.